Today we'll be looking at a spiral back review, question number 2 out of 5 for 7th grade. Okay, let's go ahead and look at this problem. The figure shows the dimensions of a piece of foam Riley would like to use as a pillow. Riley wants to cover the piece of foam with fabric. Ooh. Cover tells me that we are going to be looking at surface area, which I always think about wrapping a present. That's what goes in my head when I have to think about the formula. Sketch the net of the piece of foam and label the measurements of the length, width, and height. Ooh, I want to make sure I label well. All right. This can be hard to draw on this to make everything just perfect. What I'm going to do is on my next slide, I have drawn that out a little bit straighter. Okay, so I'm thinking about opening up that box. So I'm going to remember that this little short side, right? Remember this here and this here. Okay, and we will come back to that picture. So feel free to come back and forth and draw that on some scrap paper. Okay, as you see, if I folded that back up, I would have a box. Now remember, they're not asking for separate pieces. They're asking for what it would look like flat. So when I look for netting, I'm looking for a flat visual. All right, so if I folded up the sides, come up with a nice little box there. Okay, so that is a perfect response. See how it's labeled? What is the least amount of fabric in square yards needed to cover the piece of foam? This is quite a high-end question here. It never told you what kind of formula you would use or anything like that. So you're going to have to realize that when it asks that you need to cover, that you are looking at finding the surface area of a rectangular prism. Okay, so you want to have your picture, you have your original information. So just I'm going to jot down. So it's 2 times length times width plus 2 times length times height plus 2 times width times height. Okay, so you have all the different combinations for the box. You know this rectangular prism has 6 sides. So do I have 6 sides? Here's 2 of this combination, 2 here, and 2 here. I have 6 sides. Now, I'm going to have to plug some numbers in order to get the values for each of those. So I'm going to write that on the side so I don't get confused. If I go back to my picture, I can see that my length is 0.66 yards. And my width is 0.38 yards. And I can see that my height is 0.11 yards. So now I'm going to go ahead and substitute in those values. So I get 2 times 0.66 times 0.38 plus, because I'm going to add up all the sides, 2 times 0.66, oops, times 0.11 plus 2 times 0.38 times sorry, that always happens with this, 0.11. So kind of in my head, I also go through and make sure that I have length twice, width twice, right? And that height twice, and that combination, and 6 sides. So now I put each piece into my calculator, because calculators are allowed. In order of operations tells me to multiply first. So I get 0.5016 plus 0.1452 plus it doesn't look like a very good 2 there, 0.0836. Now I go left to right, add them all up. My final answer for the surface area is 0.7304 square yards. And square, as in here, is another hint that we're talking about area. These are a couple of hints for you. All right. A lot of work there to do. I'm so glad we had a calculator on some of those spots. Now you're going to try one on your own. Remember, even if you're using a calculator, you are writing down what you put in the calculator. And here's your problem. Malcolm wants to make a stage out of wax and display his model car. A diagram of the stage is shown. What is the volume? So be careful. Malcolm knows 1 pound of wax will fill 30 cubic inches of the stage. A 5-pound bag of wax costs $8. What is the cost of wax Malcolm needs to buy to make the stage if Malcolm only buys 5-pound bags? Okay, I'm going to go back here. Remember, in your standard, you could be asked to do surface area or volume, so make sure you distinguish between the two.